This is the Cliff Yates Show. Personal growth, motivation, inspiration, and philosophies for a great life.
This is the Cliff Yates Show. I am really excited about today's guest. Little did I know, we are connected through our hometown, our little village of Caledonia in upstate New York. I ran across him on Facebook, and I said, well, this guy's from my hometown. And then, oh, wow, he's into fitness. And then I find out off camera, he's a NYPD police officer, maybe retired, soon to be retired. We're going to talk about all these things, but I came to him initially because I was thinking, hey, we both came from this town that was big on sports, like Friday Night Lights kind of, culture. And I wonder if that had an effect on us getting involved. Let's find out from him. Patrick Davis, thanks for joining me, my brother.
Hey, Cliff, thank you very much. I appreciate it very much.
You're currently in New York City. Thank you for your service. 26 years, NYPD. Everybody knows that's kind of where I was heading to initially, and I ended up out in Los Angeles. And so you fulfilled one of my dreams, although I'm happy for my service, but thank you for yours.
Oh, thank you, too. Thank you.
And so we both come from this little village of Caledonia, upstate New York, right? Like 4,000 people. And I don't know about you. I want to ask, because I graduated 75. You're 91, like 15 some years later. But, we had this culture. I want to know, was the culture as big with you as it was with me as far as football and sports when you were going to high school there?
I think football was, it was, it's a big sport in Caledonia back then. On Friday night, basically the town shut down and everyone went to a football game. And I think that, the coaches, my friends, playing football, other sports too, baseball, I wrestled. That had a big effect on my life going forward.
Oh my God, that's amazing. Who is your wrestling coach?
It was Coach Hildebrand, who I think passed away a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
It was Hildebrand. That was it. That was the only coach that I had. I think Joe Matlow was a coach when I was in TVs.
I'm trying to think who I was, and so for everybody, and for everybody listening, our little town, 4,000 people. This is how big, and that's why I think maybe, even though I was a failure at sports, but the mentality of the town was this, and you get used to this, right? It's like, so when I was in high school, we went 5 years, so 8 games a season for football. I don't know about with you. 5 years without a loss, 40-0, and so you get that in your head, like, well, we win. Was it the same for you, or?
It was. Put it this way: I had a friend my senior year who did not want to play football; he wanted to play soccer, and my dad told me I am not allowed to be friends with him if he plays soccer. But that's how big football was in Caledonia.
That was the mentality, and God bless. I'm sure Frank Ruane was gone by the time you came in.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, Frank was. God, was he the football coach? I think he was, but he was the gym coach for sure. And I was so skinny, it was terrible. I was made fun of, pushed around, and like a Charles Atlas sand in the face kind of thing. And I got in it. Frank was like encouraged. So I couldn't. All my friends, my dad, as you know, was chief of police in the little village, and so. But I had friends like jocks, the druggies, and then in every group I was friends with, basically because I was trying to make them laugh. That was my way to get in. But I always wanted to play sports, man. So I had great friends. I tried JV football and got killed. And then I just couldn't make it. And I wanted to be on the basketball team. I practiced for hours in my driveway shooting. That was pretty good. But I couldn't make the team. But then the coach says, hey, do you want to call the games? And I go, what? Yeah, I'll call the games. They got me a microphone and a stand. So I just, where was I going with this? But I just was really close to that mentality. But Frank Ruane, the coach, he got me down, with the weights. He goes, hey, Rome wasn't built in a day. I'll never forget that. And he just was like, got me into it, man. And man, I don't know.
I had Mike Monticelli as my head coach.
I remember Mike was a coach when I was there too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Big mustache, right? Big mustache.
Yep. That's it. Gary Fredericks passed away last year. Ed Matthews was the coach. I think that's all I had for that. Yeah, that was it. It had a big effect on me, football, actually. Just, one story I want to tell you about, it was, it came into my policing career as well. So we played Warsaw, the Warsaw Tigers.
Yeah.
It was my senior year. And Warsaw at the time was not that good a team. And it was our last game of the season, and everyone on the team was not taking practice serious. It was just, it's Warsaw, don't worry about it. Even my dad said to me, he's like, you don't see me taking this like serious. I'm like, Dad, it's Warsaw, don't worry about it. Well, we played Warsaw on Saturday, And let me tell you, they ran us over all game. They just destroyed us. Cliff, I got hit so hard this game. One time I got hit from in front, got knocked over onto my back, tumbled over and landed on my feet. And to this day, I can picture right now talking to you how
Yeah.
hard I hit. And they just destroyed us. And I remember Mr. Monticelli, Mike Monticelli, on the ride home, he told us how we disappointed the community, ourselves, him, and it was the longest ride home from Warsaw to Caledonia.
That's like eating shit, right? I
Yep.
mean, that must have been the taste in your mouth. Must have been.
Well, so we move on. I graduate. I go to NYPD, and I'm a captain at NYPD now. And we have a thing called
Wow.
a ComStat. ComStat, basically, I think
Yep.
Bill Bratton was in LA, and he started ComStat.
Yeah, he
at
did.
NYPD.
Yeah, we kind of did the same thing. Yeah.
And the executives, they just question you on crime conditions. And if
Right.
you don't know your information, it can get very aggressive, and they can come at you. And I started noticing how guys who would come to ComStat not prepared,
Yes.
thinking they weren't getting called on, that's when they come at you. And I started thinking the Mike Monticelli story of not preparing for the Warsaw Tigers game. And I'd always tell my guys, about the Warsaw Tigers game and always be prepared, because when you're not prepared, that's when things will go wrong. And that's the one lesson. It's the biggest lesson I learned from football.
Oh my God. Yeah. I just remember, like you, I remember these things in my head, right? Even, to this day, now I remember Frank and Wayne telling me those things, but I think, do you remember, well, Collins was a coach. I think he did the JVs. Maybe he was a science.
Don't remember that.
I just remember him screaming, right from your gut, you're going to be juggernauts, right from your gut, reach down. And man, I wanted to walk through a brick wall.
I think sports really teach you a lot about life. When you're a kid, it teaches you a lot of lessons that you don't realize at the time, but you'll see it down the road when you're an adult, and you'll see different situations you're in, and you remember, hey, this happening in football, and it's kind of similar. And it's lessons you take from all sports.
Yeah.
Actually.
I just remember when I did JV practice, so I played in the JV. I could not make the varsity because I was getting beat up. I'm like 125, 130 pounds, 6 foot, right? And man, do you remember? Was one of your drills the snake pit? Do you remember that?
No, not. It's probably a different name.
The snake pit was kind of well, they had a couple. Like they had bull in the ring where you kind of go over, pop, pop. No, like one guy, and people would come, And then the snake pit was like you stood there, and then guys would have a running, run at you, and then you would do what you could, for like 6 guys. And I remember I did it for 5 guys. I got beat up, but so then I lost track, I guess, at 5, not realizing the 6th guy, which turned out to be my best friend, Jerry Forsyth, passed away. But he hit me, helmet to the jaw, you know what I mean? I was out for probably a minute. And man, I had like clicking in my jaw probably 10 years, man. But man, I didn't make the team, but you learn how to get hit, man. And I think it helps you in your police career, right? You get tough.
It did. I played rugby in college too at Brockport.
What? Where'd you go? Brockport?
Brockport.
Oh yeah, wow, that's great, man. No, I think that's rougher than football, man.
That helped me a lot in policing, just like tackling people, chasing people down. That was probably more than football.
Oh my God. And so you go on the police force, and how old were you when you joined up NYPD?
22.
Oh, 22. And what years was that?
April 22nd, 1997. 1997, my first day in the academy.
What the hell? I always forget, and we can talk about that because I think it's important, right? So 1997, you're 22. I've already been in patrol in LA for, 87, 90, 10 years. And then I did 5 years in Livingston County. But so I always forget, Patrick. So how old are you now? 26 years in. So you're 50 or no? 50, yeah. Yeah, so I'm like, I was out in California, so I'm talking to these guys. Yeah, so I went to Gold's Gym. Do you remember Pete Grimkowski? He was a big bodybuilder from Rochester.
No.
He was one of the original owners of Gold's Gym. He Mr. Universe, America, pretty top national bodybuilder, known for taking a lot of steroids. But he was one of the main original owners of the Venice Gold's Gym and ended up responsible for franchising that. But so I meet him. He lived in Greece for a while. He met my dad when my dad was Greece PD.
Okay.
But what was I going? I was going with the bodybuilding. Oh, I know. So I knew all these bodybuilders from that era of the Yates, right? Arnold and Lou. I meet all these guys. So I'm out here in Florida. I'm talking to a guy, and he had competed. So I was asking him about these guys, and he goes, "Are you talking about the 80s?" And I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "Oh, I was born in like 96 or something." I go, "Oh, man, I always think I'm that young."
I'll tell you the first time I felt old at the police department.
Yeah.
I'm at Comstat.
Yeah.
And in Comstat, they always put up shooting victims or perps who are wanted.
Yeah.
And they put one guy up, had his pedigree up, and I look at the date of birth, and he was born like a week after I got in the police academy. And I'm like, I'm getting old. Getting old.
I know, it's crazy. Even when I see, it's like even seeing Caledonia, athletes that I think, what that guy, man, I went to with his dad. I went to school with him, right? Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah.
How often you go back to Caledonia? You go back a lot, or?
No, I started going back a lot in 1990. It would have been. So you joined NYP 97. It was about 90. Was it No, actually, it would have been 2009. Oh, that's when I started going back. So you always had we have the summer place in the Thousand Islands.
Okay.
So I started going back in like 2009 because I started doing comedy gigs for the Cook Coyle Foundation. So,
right.
And I don't know, Tatsi Cook he was a big time CMCS footballer, man. He was a great. If you think about all the greats like Don Carpenter. Yeah. Don Carpenter, Mike Tootsie, Gary Mattice, all these guys, Jerry Forsyth, and Tom Cook, and Danny Coyle. Danny Coyle was a big-time wrestler. I don't know if you remember Coyles.
No, I remember the name.
Yeah, so Tom Cook died of an MS-related disease. So every year they do a fundraiser in town for him, and I started doing a comedy gig to help them fundraise. And now they still have the golf tournament for Tatsi Cook and Dan Coyle. But Dan Coyle was like me. He was a little bit of a troublemaker. And then he got roped into wrestling, man. He became a wrestling star for Caledonia, man. He was really good, yeah.
Sometimes in sports like that gives you a little purpose where that you're in trouble in life, but you find something where you can, an outlet, and it kind of sets you on the right path.
Yeah. So do you ever get back at all?
To Caledonia?
Yeah.
I've actually gone back more since I've retired than probably 25 years before. Like I would go back once a year, like for Christmas. Sometimes not even that. But then once I retired, I started going back a little more. I go back probably twice a year now. Yeah,
my mom's still there, and I like to go back. At the time though, I wanted to get out. Was that like you? Did you want to? I need to go to the city, or what inspired you to go from Caledonia to NYPD?
It was actually NYPD Blue. I was going to Brockport. And a couple of my teammates in rugby, actually one of his dads was a NYPD cop. He'd tell me stories. I was watching NYPD Blue, and I liked it. I've never been to the city ever, but I just liked the show. And so I worked at Rochester General Hospital. I don't know if you know, and one of the guys I worked with was retired transit cop.
I worked there too.
Oh, did you?
Security.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Yeah, what? 1996. Yeah, that's why.
You got a lot of RPD guys and stuff work there. Yeah.
Yeah. So you guys know Tom Natoli. He was a retired transit cop. He's like, go down and take the test and see what happens. I'm like, all right. I went down and took it, and then took it in the Bronx. A year later, I got hired. And they called me and they said, be down here. It was like a Friday afternoon. They said, be here Monday to start. And I had to pick up and leave, and that was it.
Did you go to MCC?
No, I went to it was CCFL at the time. Now it's Finger Lakes Community College. And then I went to
I went to MCC. Matter of fact, my classmate, you remember Pat O'Flynn? He was the sheriff of Monroe County. Sure. Yeah, he was my classmate. So,
oh, yeah?
Yeah, another good friend of mine, you probably won't remember him, but he worked under my dad, Tom Vasile, and then he ended up going to Monroe County Sheriff and retired out of there. And now he just created the chaplaincy for RPD and the Monroe County Sheriff. Yeah, so.
What year did you work at Rochester General Hospital? What?
It would have been like 77.
Okay.
Right before I went to Livingston County. I was going to MCC. My dad or something, he had an inn, so I kind of got, which was kind of neat working at the hospital. I remember they had the keys, right? The key box.
They still have those too.
Are you serious? Oh, my God. You had to go into all the pathology with all the brains and all that stuff. Oh my God, it was crazy.
The reason I went there is because I did an internship at RPD, Rochester Police Department, and I was in the Goodman section, and back then it was the Goodman section. I think they have East and West now, and we used to go to RGH, and I just started talking to guys. I'm like, all right, let me just apply here and see what. And I applied, and I got hired.
Oh my God, that is a great story. I had a friend. Oh my God, Don Stolpen was a guy. He was a big wrestler out of Chile, I believe, probably before your time, of course. And then he had Stolpen's gym, I think, Chile Fitness area. Now Chile Fitness Center actually still has some of the equipment. But his brother, Stolpen, I can't remember, I think it was Dave. He worked RPD lockup for a while. But yeah, so I had a lot of friends that worked RPD at the time. But back in the day, right? Oh my God! So wow. We have all these connections, man.
I'll tell you what. Working at the hospital, that taught me more about how to deal with people than anything in the police department. I just because you're not armed, obviously. You're just talking to people.
Yeah.
And I learned more there than any place else ever about how to deal with people, and it helped me a lot during my police career as well.
Yeah. I remember a lot of shit went down in the ER, right? To be fights and pushing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh
to bring in people who are obviously shot or stabbed, and the family comes in and friends, and sometimes like a gang member, and then the other gangs come in. It's just it could have a lot of drama in the emergency room.
Oh yeah, where did you live in Caledonia?
I was on East Avenue, which is right up the block from the monument.
Yeah.
So I was halfway in between the monument and I think Jersey Street, or that halfway between.
Yeah, I just walked there the other day. I thought, I'm going to walk around town, man. Yeah, East Avenue. So down where the tennis court's up, like from my street, Park Place, up to the monument. Yeah. It's a nice. Some of those houses are cool, man.
I go back now though, and things have changed. I don't know a lot of people anymore. Even a lot of my friends moved away. It seemed like all my friends, are gone. Moved away. So I don't really I don't recognize a lot of people in town anymore. It's still nice.
Yeah.
It's changed.
Yeah, I guess I wanted to get out so bad, and I didn't go to New York City until here we were 5 hours. Probably the same for you. I didn't go to New York City until I took the test. Same for you, or?
Yeah, same for me.
I think, well, we had all this so close. I could have been going here to see Broadway shows, and my parents probably never thought about doing that. How about yours?
My parents told me they said they've experienced more because of me than they ever would have if it wasn't for me living in New York. Just coming down here.
Yeah, my parents too. My mom came down and my aunt came. We took the train down. I took the test. We went to Macy's. And it's funny, and I'm sure it is bad, but when I think about how it was when I went down in '83, man, I mean, it was. Dude, these people, I mean, I remember we were riding the subway. Of course, we thought nothing of it, right? People would just come subway car to subway car, and they would just announce, "I got AIDS, get your money out," Yeah. And, it was nothing, and then Grand Central was a piece of crap. People laying all over. If people knew, when I saw what Giuliani did for that city, man, it was just like, you go back now, there's coffee shops, and it's so cool,
He really changed things around. Him and Bratton did.
They did.
Bratton got things going, and then Howard Safer was the police commissioner when I got hired.
Oh, my God, yes.
He kept them going, and then it was Bernie Carrick, and then Bloomberg became mayor, and he kept things going. Once de Blasio came in, things kind of changed a little bit for the worse, and now Eric Adams is the mayor, and I think he wants to be successful and do well, but he's got a lot of challenges with the state legislature and council.
So 2000, let's say 2004-ish, 5-ish. Where were you? What's assignment?
I was a sergeant. 2005. I was in the 5-2, which is in the Bronx, and then I taught in a police academy for about 4 years.
Wow, great.
And then I became a lieutenant out of the police academy.
What was your expertise in the? You became a lieutenant. Oh, you were a captain though. Holy shit, man!
Yeah.
I became a sergeant. That was it. I promoted to the rank of beyond my expertise.
I think for me, lieutenant was the best rank. I love being lieutenant.
And so, what was your expertise in the academy? Did you teach a certain thing like defensive tactics or?
I taught what they call academics, which is basically law, social science, police science, and then I taught it was at the gym, which was physical training and tactics.
Okay.
Yeah.
The reason I ask you the year is because at that year, I was up at Universal City Walk in L.A., so we have a substation there.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then they had what they called the Major Cities Chief Conference, and it was being held somewhere right there at the Hilton, right there in Universal City. And so the NYPD guys were there. And so so the commissioner was there. And so the commissioner, as you know, he had like a gang of 6 sergeants with him.
Yeah.
And so they were like on the city walk, and they told me, and I know these LA guys, they don't know how it works in New York, right? It's like, hey, we gotta take care of these guys, man. And so my lieutenant knew too. He goes, hey, Cliff, you're assigned to these guys, man. They never buy a drink. You make sure, no, okay, So I remember I took him to the jazz club. I forgot his, oh my God. Anyways, I just gave the bartender my credit card. These guys don't want to pay for a drink, man. So, but anyways, it only came out to like $100 or something, but but I can't remember the names, but they gave me a thing, sapphire. It was like a bronze plate, said NYPD and Howard Sapphire, I think, commissioner.
So Howard Sapphire, yeah.
And so I got that. It's like in a velvet case, and they gave that to me as a thanks, man, And they always said, if you're ever in the city, look me up. I'll take care of you, which they, they would, but they're gone now. So,
yeah. They're probably all retired. They're all retired now.
They're all retired, damn it. But we had a great time, and what a great group of guys, man. But the commissioner, man, we're on the commissioner's team or whatever they called it, man. There was like 6 of these guys, right?
How was your career? Did you you obviously enjoyed LA.
Yeah, it was weird. Can you imagine? I when I did comedy, I used to say, I started as a cop in upstate New York, and Livingston County, we had no crime, so I made shit up, Somebody hit a deer, I made that a homicide, and I do it. Then my first patrol assignment was Compton, right? It was really just a Compton adjacent. I mean, it was just shootings every day. You probably worked in these areas, right, where, we had no concept. I never saw a gang in Caledonia. Come on. And so, I had no idea when I went to the patrol school from the jails. The guy told me, he goes, well, sometimes there's so many shootings, you can't make it to all of them. I'm thinking that sounds like bullshit. And man, it wasn't bullshit, man, because it was like, yeah. So I was in like the 80s when it was like cocaine wars. There was a lot of shootings. And were you in a high crime area like that? Or
I started out in housing, which is PSA 7, which that's
shit.
South
that can't
Bronx.
be good no matter what, right?
The 5-2 then I went to Bronx warrants, which was basically just going after people with warrants. And then I was in the 5-2, which was in the northern part of the Bronx. And then I went to the police academy, which, to be honest with you, I liked the police academy, but there was, in some aspects I didn't, because I wasn't doing police work. Like,
right, yeah.
When I went, I missed doing, like, out in the street, like putting handcuffs on people.
Oh, me too. Yeah, I love patrol, man. I love patrol, yeah.
And then I went to the 4-6, which was in the Bronx. That was probably the busiest command, the precinct I've ever worked in. And then I went to Brooklyn North Narcotics, Bronx Narcotics, Citywide Vice, and then became a captain. I was in Brooklyn in the 8-3 in Bushwick, the 9-0 in Williamsburg, and then I ended my career in the Detective Bureau. I was in the Grand Larceny Division.
Oh my God, isn't that? Yeah, and there's some, is this the same in NYPD? So some guys, I was like you, man. Some places I got kicked out of, but basically I moved around a lot, which turned out to be the best way to have your career, right? And so, do you have some guys that just stay in one spot and they never move?
Usually, it's on patrol, where guys do their 20 years on patrol, and that's it. Or they're a detective, they're in the 4-2 squad, 4-2 detective squad, and they've been in the 4-2. Like they started on patrol there, they went upstairs to the squad, and they just know the neighborhood. Everyone knows them. They enjoy it, and they just do their whole career there. But most people move around, every 3 or 4 years. And you have to, because you get burned out in the same spot.
You do. Yeah, you have to. And it's the best for your career, especially as you've probably found out when you want to promote. You can't be sitting in one spot, man. You got to have some connection and relationships.
Well, not even that, but you're more well-rounded. Like if I'm in narcotics and the Grand Larceny Division and patrol or transit, I can go places and know, I'm more well-rounded.
Hey, did you know a guy named Mark DeMeo? He's another friend of mine.
No, I don't recognize the name.
Oh my God, he's on a podcast with a guy. Actually, the guy, I'll get the name for you, but they do a podcast. He doesn't do it as much anymore, but he did like a off-Broadway show called 20 and Out about NYPD, and he had he has a skit, right? Because it was called the Ghetto Knock. So he could do this crazy knock thing, and then people would open the door, right? Because, cops open, they have a certain knock, right? Yeah. So he said when he got the Detective Bureau, these guys would call him over. Hey, DeMeo, come on over here. I need the knock. So he called it. It's just crazy, but, we
had warrants. You'd have the knock where you'd have the flashlight. You're knocking against the door. Everyone knows you're the police. So we would do it. just knock real soft with your hand, and they don't realize you're like the police.
Yeah. Oh my God, but he does it crazy. So we all did that. We actually did. This would have been you. You were what? So you retired, or did you retire yet, or?
I'm still in the books now because I had so much vacation time built up. So I'll be on till December 9th this year.
Okay. So
Yeah.
2010, 2011 ish. We did like a Blue Lives comedy tour, and we actually did it. Mark DeMeo was in it, and like 4 other copper comedians, and we performed at Gotham Comedy Club, which was kind of one of my dreams. Yeah,
Wow.
pretty awesome. Yeah.
It's funny because you mentioned about do I know there's only been one time in my whole career where someone said to me, "Do you know this person?" And then I actually knew them because there's so many. I mean, NYPD there's probably 35,000 cops.
Yeah, exactly. I know.
And the only time it happened was last year. My parents were in Florida, in Anna Maria Island.
Yeah.
And they called me up and they said, "Hey, do you know this guy named Tom DeCoker?" And I'm like, "Yeah, he drove me in the 4.6."
What?
His mom was staying in the same complex
Dude.
as my parents in Florida.
I'm telling you, you can't. Of course, we only had 10,000. So I just by happenstance, we find this place on the east side of Florida. We're on the Space Coast, just down from Cape Canaveral, kind of. So Melbourne Beach, Cocoa Beach. So we move here, and we don't know anybody. That's fine. We get introduced to this church, and the guy kind of scopes me out. He was from Brighton originally, and so he says, "Hey," he finds my story and he goes, "Hey, we got to get you on the safety team." Okay. So then he tells me, "Oh, your classmate is here. He lives near you. And my classmate, he must have me confused. My classmate in my LA Sheriff's Academy, who I never saw for the past 15, 20 years, maybe more. And now he lives 2 miles from me. He's at the same church, and we're on the safety team together."
Yeah.
Come on. That doesn't happen.
I've seen it. I know guys who move now. They move to Florida, North Carolina, and their neighbors are, they're NYPD. Like anywhere they go, there's always NYPD. South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee. No one stays in the city once they're retired.
So now you're. Let's get to now because all I saw was. Oh, I just want to ask you this. So when you left, were people like, "Hey, why are you doing that?" Or "Do you want to do that?" Or "Why are you moving to New York? You're going to hate it." Or
they just thought I was, they thought I was like nuts by moving. But most people who said that have never been in the city.
Right. Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. People who when I lived in the Bronx, I told my parents I was moving to Bronx. My parents, my mom was almost about to cry. It seemed like. And I'm like, no, you'll enjoy it where I'm going. Why? They came down here. They loved the city once they got here.
Yeah.
But even the Bronx, they saw where I was living. It was an all Irish neighborhood. Like they had pubs, on the main block. They loved it. So once people saw it, they enjoyed it. But they have this this vision in their head that New York, it's so violent, and there are violent parts.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
There are good parts too.
Yeah, we love it. I didn't know because I loved it since I went there and took my test. And so then I thought, and then my current wife, we've been together almost 30 years. But so when we first come, I was bringing her to New York, and she was born in Cuba. And so I didn't know how she was going to like New York, man. She loves New York because she loves fast pace, man. And so our favorite Cuban restaurant is Victor's Cafe. It's on 52nd between 6 and 7. If you get a chance, go there, man. It's great. Yeah.
How long does she loves coming to the city then, it sounds
Yeah,
like.
she loves it. So we've been coming together since 1999. We only missed 2 years.
Right.
Matter of fact, we ended up after 9/11, 2000. So February of 2002, we ended up down there. Things were still kind of smoldering, man, but there was you could go and walk through it. And because Giuliani had a thing, man, to get people to come to the city. So we were able to stay at the Waldorf for like $200 a night, right? They were just trying to get people. And so we stayed at the Waldorf, man, and we got to walk down there, and we saw our LA sheriff patches because, people went, man, and they went and they served there. And so.
I actually saw a couple, when I was there, I saw it for 9/11. I saw troopers down there, and they were.
Yeah, I know it, right? People just grabbed their shit and they went, man.
Yeah.
Talk about, pride and God and just patriots, man. Yeah, but let's go towards. I had the same thing. Like, you're not going to LA. You're going to be a minority, dude. Why would you want to go there? You got a good career here. You've been here 5 years, man. But some people are like, God bless you. You do it. My parents were like, hey, whatever makes you happy, do it.
Now, did people come out there and visit you, like friends from Caledonia?
Yeah, my parents came a lot of times. And then my mom, little did I know at the time, I didn't even remember, she was born in San Diego. My grandmother lived in LA. So she got to visit her old house where she was when she was a little girl. I had a few friends come out, not too many, but I had a few friends come out. But yeah, so now I'm kind of like reminiscent. So now I like going back to Caledonia because I kind of see, that's what I was saying. I kind of see, like, even though I was really a failure at sports, I was kind of indoctrinated into that winning and competitive mentality to now where I'm really have been into still competing. I'm 66. I sometimes compete in tennis, sports, and bowling, and I got my PBA card, my professional bowler's card. I competed in the U.S. Open of bowling in, I think, 2003 or something. Yeah. So how did you get, even though I'm sure you stayed physically fit, because I got a hold of you because I saw you posting videos like I do, exercising and doing crazy shit.
Well, I started out playing sports, and
you were one of those stars at CMCS, man.
Well, I wasn't a star. I was all right. I was good. I was okay. But
if you made the wrestling team, man, you were a star because those guys were tough dudes, man.
I think baseball is my favorite sport, man. I was probably the best at baseball. Football, I enjoyed. Wrestling. I wasn't that good of a wrestler. I wasn't good at all. I'm not gonna say I was okay. I was not good. It was more football.
You probably were great.
Yeah. But I got into fitness through football because you had to go lift, and I would mentioned before, like my friends like who I mentioned before, like Sean Purcell, Ron Sikoria, those guys, James Graves, Don Rhodes. They started me out in fitness. Like the things I have now are because of them, things I've learned. And I started out, lifting weights because of football.
Yeah.
And that kind of carried over throughout my whole life.
Wait, so Ron Sikoria was in your class?
Yes, he was. Yeah, Ron.
So
Don
that's
Rhodes.
Ron Jr., right?
Right. That's be like.
So I knew Dad.
Okay,
Judge Sikoria.
Judge, that's his son. Yeah.
So, because I'm having Amy on the podcast too, right? So that would have been her grandfather then, right? No, her father.
No, her sister. That's his sister. That's Ron's. My friend. That's Ron's sister, Amy.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's Ron's sister, and then Judge is her dad. Was her dad?
The dad.
Okay, very good. Yeah. Anyways, I'm sorry. And so you got into fitness, and now but you're involved in a gym or training people, or what are you doing?
So I'm training people now. I got him last year. I'll tell you how it started. When I was working, I had my inspector, Pat Courtwright. I was working constantly, and I wasn't in good shape. I was still working out a little bit, but I was just, I was heavier. And he's like, "You got to go to the gym. You got to go to the gym." I'm like, "All right," so I'll go. And I started going back to the gym because of him. He was kind of like my, got me back into it. Yeah. And I started getting back into good shape. And I started enjoying it more. And that's how I started. And that was probably going on like 2 years ago. And then I retired and I started even working out even more. And I learned more about like body weight exercises. And, I'd be on Instagram and I'd see things like, "Oh, let me try that out." And that's how in my videos, I actually started that because I was jumping rope in the gym one day and I had someone take a video of it. And I had it, and my boss, Pat Courtwright, I went to his house, and we're watching football, and I told him, "Hey, I'm thinking about doing a thing on Instagram." I'm like, I'm a little nervous about doing it. He said, "No, just give it a try." So I posted it, and that's how that started. But I got into the fitness or the working out because of him. I started doing more body weight exercises. I got into like more my nutrition was better. I mean, once I retired, it helped a lot, just because I think stress, that has a bad effect on you, physically.
Yeah, it does.
Lack of sleep, and not eating well in general. And I think that helped me out a lot. If I was still working, I would still be working out, but it'd be a lot more challenging. And once I did retire and I had less stress in my life, and I could concentrate my fitness and nutrition, that's when I started really picking things up a little bit and improving a lot.
Yeah. Wow, I'm with you on that, man. If I wish, although I do sometimes I think. So now I look back.
Hey, real quick. I'm sorry, real quick, but just on a side note, I think that's one thing. I think that's one thing where law enforcement is failing cops.
Yes.
Is the physical fitness one, and two, like the stress you have to endure, and sometimes it's not the people on the street. It's the politics inside, which is
man,
stressful.
100%.
And I think God. Yeah, I think that's where a lot of departments are failing their officers by not addressing that.
Yeah, so I was looking this up, right? Because I just graduated from this Primal Health Coach Institute, which is created by this guy Mark Sisson. Have you seen him? Or
No, I haven't.
he's a guy in his 70s, man. He's jacked, and he was an endurance athlete, but he had all these illnesses. But so he got into this primal health of eating nutrient-dense foods and moving, lifting heavy things. And I'll tell you the thing. But I was looking up, and I go, man, because I was thinking of niching down. Maybe I'll coach cops or retired cops, Because then I looked up, wow, so overweight, I guess the country is like 70% people are overweight. Then I looked it up. So 80% of cops are like overweight and or obese, right? And then I looked up because I get so upset and I get horrific self-stress on myself because I see the violence against police officers and I get so crazy with the shootings and people getting executed and ambushed. And then I find that, the cops, even today with all this violence against them, they're still more likely to die from a lifestyle-related disease than a gunshot. Is that crazy?
It is. I mean, and you'll see people who retire, like people who retire and they do like 25, 30 years, and then within a couple of years, they pass away. They have a heart attack. And I think it's a lot because just the diet you have when you're working, and just like, if you're working at midnight, if I'm in at midnight at 4 or 6, where can I go and eat? I have nowhere to go but like a fast food restaurant.
Nowhere to go.
And I think too, a lot of it is like you're under a lot of stress. And this is one thing I learned, like when you're under stress, your body is trying to protect itself.
That's right. It tries to get to homeostasis. It tries to get there.
But once you retire and that stress goes away, now your body thinks it can relax, but now you're more susceptible to injury and sickness. I think that's a lot of times what happens.
Yeah, and that's why, and that's part of the whole fitness thing is controlling. It's really a controlled stress on the body that makes it stronger. So that not to the detrimental point, but a mild stress makes us healthier and more fit. So that's kind of what we're doing when we do strength exercises or even a body weight exercise. We're putting stress on the body to the degree of making it better and stronger because we'll do that naturally.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, and if you're putting stress in your body to improve it.
Yeah. I was, it's funny, and maybe you'll address this on your end of new NYPD, because when I was going in the 80s and 90s, they were really focused on having a balanced life. You should have friends outside the department. You should do other interests. And so I did that. I was on a bowling team, and I did all these things, did comedy and things. And now I have 2 stepsons on the job. And let me tell you, they're getting drafted all the time. There's no focus on that. They make them work. They're making great money, but there's no focus on you got to work out or staying healthy. Are you finding that in your end? Or?
I think that how should I put it? I think they say it. You have to have a work-life balance and take care of yourself. But in reality, they want the job done. And like if you're, especially NYPD, I don't know how LA is right now. NYPD, they're very short staffed. So if I have protests going on and this going on, they got to pull cops to cover these events. And I know guys now that it's very tough to get days off. They're getting mandated overtime. And that takes a toll on you, especially if you have a family, you have a wife, or a husband or kids. That takes a big toll on you. Like I said, I think they want you to they say to take care of yourself, but there's a lot of challenges you have as a cop that kind of prevent you or make it hard to do.
So when I habituated, and I don't know if I'm sure you've already done this now. Once you habituate that muscle of working out all the time, I mean, to the point of when I was and it was a tough academy, even during the academy on a day off, me and another guy would go to the gym because I don't know about you, if I go 3 or 4 days without it, I mean, I have anxiety, right? Do you feel a little stressed if you don't?
I think on day 2, I'm starting to feel it. And I'll tell you a story. About a month ago, I went to the doctor. I'm dating a girl, and she's like, "Yeah, get checked out." I'm like, "All right, I'll get checked out." And so I get a blood test done, and my PSA level was high. So I don't know if PSA level.
What was it?
It was 5, and should be between a 1 and a 4.
Correct. Yeah.
So, and I started going like, "Oh my God, what if I have that's an indication of prostate cancer?"
It's a marker. Yeah.
Yeah. So I started reading up on it, and I see that vigorous exercise and not, put it bluntly, ejaculation can raise your level.
Correct. Yeah.
I spoke to the doctor and I told him, it could. We'll come back in 3 weeks and we'll get retested. But that 3 weeks, I was so nervous that I didn't work out. And she told me she could tell I was just changing, like physically and emotionally.
Yeah.
It was not. I mean, I was stressed out too. Luckily, it turned out to be, it was back to normal. So I got back to the gym again. But that showed me, like, if I don't work out, it can have a bad effect on me.
Yeah, so your 3 weeks of hell I can relate to. I had over a year of that. So I had a bad bladder infection. My PSA was 10.
Ah,
Neurologist, they had
yeah.
me the thing on and a catheter because I had to go to the emergency room. And I couldn't pee. And so, and the neurologist, oh man, you got to, you're going to have to take this the rest of your life, this Flomax thing. And I didn't like the way it made me feel. It makes you feel weird. But he did say, he goes, well, that's an indication of prostate cancer, but a bladder infection can inflate that. So let's wait a few months and then get retested. Well, then, the pandemic, no one can go to the doctor. And so now I'm like you probably. I'm researching prostate cancer up the ass, right? I'm looking everything up, and how you can do it, what are operations, right? And so then I can't get tested, man. I'm talking to my neighbor, 10, I'm a 1 or whatever, So anyways, I finally get tested a year ago, man. I'm like 0.90. I'm like less than 1. And he goes, oh, no, there's hardly any chance you could. But thank God. But I went through like a year of hell, man, in your head, right?
And probably researching yourself on, like, Googling, that's probably the worst thing you can do. And that's all I did for 3 weeks. And I get more worried, too, because 9/11, I think.
I know. So were you down there, like, inhaling shit or anywhere, I get?
Yeah, I was there. I was at the ground zero for about a month. Then I went to the Staten Island landfill for a month. And then I came back to Manhattan because I don't remember the plane crash in the Rockaways.
Yeah.
I was at the ME's office for a month there. So.
Shit, did you have like friends you lost or?
Oh yeah, I've had not friend. I didn't have friends that died that day, but obviously friends.
How about acquaintances like related to that? Like 20 years later, they're getting these lung cancers or?
Oh yeah, I had one friend that passed away just actually last year. He had I think he had a pancreatic cancer.
Yeah, I see that a lot.
Yeah, so I get checked out every year. I have to go to like World Trade Center screening, and actually I had to call them about the PSA level just so they knew about it.
Yeah.
And then I went to them after that check, and they said, "Do you want to get checked out again?" Because I was back to normal. He's like, "No, if you think I'm good, then I'm good for now."
Yeah. What was your cholesterol?
I don't know what. I mean, it was normal. I know that. I don't know what it was,
Okay.
but that was the only thing that was off for me was the PSA.
So I learned about cholesterol, right? You know how they tell you have good cholesterol, bad cholesterol? Yeah, that's BS, right?
No, I thought it was no.
Yeah. No, there is no good or bad. There's only cholesterol.
No.
So inside the high-density lipoprotein, inside that cell is the same protein that's in the low-dense lipoprotein. It's the same cholesterol. They're riding in a different vehicle. The only difference is a low-dense lipoprotein will enter the arterial wall and oxidate and cause arterial sclerosis. And HDL will not. It cleans out the blood system. So the high dense, that's why they call it good cholesterol. It's the same cholesterol. And if people get down to it, it's not the proper test. There's a way. Not all LDL is bad. It's the size of the particles they're riding in. There's like large puffy, they call them. Those don't get caught in the arterial wall. It's the small particles that get trapped. But they say it's good, bad, but it's the same cholesterol. Your body makes cholesterol. So these, they're finding these people that go on statins, they're killing the good cholesterol too. So yeah, that's kind of not an accurate thing when doctors say that.
That's the first I've heard of that. So.
Yeah, check into that. Just Google, cholesterol. And so the program I'm on, this Mark Sisson, because I went vegan for a while.
Did you?
And all my numbers were great. Everything went down. I felt great, energized. And, I studied these forks over knives, heart disease, and all this stuff, the number one killer. But what was high was my glucose was still like 101. A1C, doctors, well, it's only 5.6, so you're okay until 5.7. So I wasn't really learning that all carbohydrates get converted to glucose. And glucose controls insulin, and insulin controls fat storage. So now I'm into controlling glucose and insulin, and that's really the key. And now I'm more interested in burning fat and ketones instead of being on that carbohydrate roller coaster. Right. How about you? How about your diet? What are you into?
So when I was working, my diet was not, it was okay, but it was.
Me too, yeah.
I think the worst thing I did, I didn't eat consistently. Like I go like 8 hours without eating, and then I gorge. So now my diet is mostly just a lot of chicken, turkey, eggs, but I try to eat like throughout the day consistently. Like I may eat every 2-3 hours instead of going like 8 hours not eating. And I feel like I'm more like stable that, I have more energy
Yeah.
when I'm eating that. And I've cut out, like, I hardly drink ever anymore. I think I might have like 1 or 2 beers since I retired. And I just,
Yeah.
I think the drinking really, that hurts you a lot,
It
and
does. I still drink wine. I drink like a
yeah,
glass a night for 3 or 4 nights a week. But I got rid of the sugary. I don't do like gin and tonics or anything anymore
yeah.
because the sugary. So here's the 10 laws for the Primal Health Institute for Mark Sisson, right? You got to look that guy up, man. He's jacked. Maybe there's a picture of him.
Just, the sugar, the one thing, my one vice though, I can't give up is our peppermint patties. I love peppermint patties. I can't stop eating them.
What? All
Yeah.
right. I'll probably give you that. I don't know. So here's the primal laws that Mark Sisson goes by, which kind of, it's not restrictive. It actually opens up you. So he believes in eating nutrient-dense foods like meat, fish, fowl, eggs, vegetables, fruits, nuts, and seeds. That's your diet as you're approved. The stuff to stay away from, he's against the grains, sugars, and chemically altered oils like Wesson oil, all that stuff. And then number 3 is move a lot. Just don't go to the gym for your workout, then sit on the couch all day. So move a lot throughout the day. And then number 4 is lift heavy things. Right? So he believes in like maybe once a week, twice a week, you're deadlifting. Now I'm using that hex bar and I'm lifting heavy things. 5, he says to sprint. Like every 7 to 10 days, he does a sprinting group, like, 8 to 10 sets of 4 or 5 seconds. Stimulates your testosterone and, human growth, all those hormones. And then, like you said, get plenty of sleep. So important, right?
Oh, your recovery.
Yeah, your recovery and hormones and serotonin, melatonin, all those hormones that get messed up. So sleep. Then he says play at something. So play, like just don't work out. Maybe you do. He does like ultimate frisbee challenge or beach volleyball. I do tennis, right? Something you can play at that's not a structured workout. Get plenty of sunlight. So now I get plenty of, if you get 20, 30 minutes of great sunlight, that's going to give you enough vitamin D4. And now my vitamin D is right in the center. That'll set you up for the week, really. And then another thing is, so get plenty of sunlight, and then don't do stupid things. Text and drive. You get distracted going down the stairs in your phone. Stuff that can hurt you and or kill you, cause injuries. And then number 10, be constantly learning and trying new things, reading. He does puzzles in the morning. I hate puzzles. I don't do that shit. But anyway, I call it primal laws of wellness, man. So it's pretty good, man.
Well, the one thing I like what he's saying, and I think a lot of people do this, they just go to the gym and they just lift, but there's so much more to fitness than just lifting, and I think you got to move like you said, move your body, like I got one thing called animal flow. Animal flow basically is just like you're on the ground on all fours, you move like an animal.
Animal flow, you call it. Okay.
Yeah, you're always moving, and it's the best workout that I've ever had. But you're moving in all planes of motion. There's different planes, like your sagittal plane, transverse plane. And you're moving all over. And I think when people they just get into, all right, I'm just lifting. Yeah, they're strong, but I don't think there's a lot more to fitness than just that. And I think
I agree. Yeah, you're right. I love you did that animal flow on that pier right in Florida. Yeah, that was awesome. I like that. It was a good visual.
And I'll tell you what, since I've been doing that, my body feels so much more just like limber, and I sleep better. I feel like I'm getting a better workout. I still do my strength training, but I add that animal flow into my workouts.
Yeah, I follow a guy. Check him out, Dr. Peter Attia. He calls his method, he's training for the centenarian triathlon. There's no such thing, but he says, he's training for like 100. So he's training like he wants to be in those years between like 80 and 90. He wants to be, he's strength training to be able to get up and down from the floor to like play with grandkids, lift them up. Just like I'm sure that animal flow is good for those movements that would get you up and down off the floor, right?
That's why people shouldn't lift to like, to have a good life, if they want to play with their kids, and if you take care of yourself, I think you can move well into your 60s and 70s. Like if you just gotta keep your joints moving, but if you're standing still, not just sitting on the couch watching TV and working all day at the computer, I think, your body it's gonna, I would say, break down. But if you're not using your joints or your muscles, you're gonna lose it. So I think you just have to, like the one guy said, you got to keep on moving.
You got to move a lot. That's what he said. And so I try to do that. Now I do it. My walks here on the beach. Well, another, go ahead.
I'm starting. I've actually started last year. I was dating another girl, and she dragged me to a yoga class.
Yeah, yeah.
And I did not want to go. I'm like, this is not for guys. And I'm like, all right, I'll go with you once. Cliff, I enjoy yoga now a lot. I think it's very. I don't know if you've ever done it before.
I'm going to do it.
It's very challenging, and as far as like working out, like strength training, I wasn't as sore anymore. And just the challenge, like moving my body, like different ways. I enjoyed it. So like in May, I'm going for a yoga instructor class in Manhattan. It's like a 200-hour.
Shit. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So keep this in mind. This is just between me and you. So everybody else mute your computers. But so I did Tai Chi. I haven't done a lot, but I did it with a friend of mine up at the island. So I like that. But here's my vision when I get into this coaching thing, because I was thinking, people do these retreats, right? I'm thinking, you get a retreat. Maybe we rent a house on the beach. I'll take care of that. And then we have like a chef. So people spend like 3 days, right? We're on the beach, we're on the water. And then like, on the first day in the morning, you're going to do the yoga, right? And my buddy will do the Tai Chi. Amy's going to do like, nutrition or whatever, and maybe they spend, it costs them maybe $2,000-3,000, but for 3 days they get this retreat of health and fitness. What do you think of that idea?
I'll tell you, I had an instructor I knew from I went to school, and she has a class called it's a retreat called Slante's Retreat. She's off the boat from Ireland.
What's it called? Slante's Retreat. Okay.
Her name is Michelle Hackett Smith, I believe, and she does retreat like that, and it's her own business, and she does pretty well. So I think it's a good idea what you want to do.
Yeah.
It's all women. She does all women. Like it's an all female retreat. They go upstate somewhere, like in the country. They do yoga. They have like a nutritionist there and all that. And she does pretty well.
Yeah, I just think it's kind of good, because when you get away on those retreats, whatever it is, even if it's like a business retreat, man, it removes the distraction and makes you focused on what you're there to do without family and work and whatever else. Let me know what kind of coaching model do you use? You're in person all the time, right?
In person, yes.
So, and you have do you have like a gym that you train at?
I have my gym. My gym is at in Queens in Whitestone, where I have my clients.
Okay, cool. And then how does that work? You make a deal with the gym, right? Your clients don't have to be members, or how does that work?
You got to make a deal with the gym to bring clients in. I also have a co-op where I live has a gym, which I can bring residents of the co-op. I can bring them there to work them out. That's kind of hopefully no one from the board is listening to the podcast. That's I got to be. I can't announce that.
No,
everyone who comes in, they are a resident. They pay the fee to work out. I kind of I meet them there and I train them.
Yeah, I only have 17 followers, so we're okay. Yeah, but it's 17, man. It's not 0. That's what I'm trying to tell people, man. Just get in the gym. I did a video. I go, just get to the gym. Don't even join. Just walk in. Can I see? Then leave. You went to the gym. Start there.
I think walking in is the hardest part. Once you get in the gym and just start working out, you're good. Just walking through that front door is the hardest part of fitness.
I got to have a guy on my podcast. This guy, his name is Johnny. And my wife and I, we go to this gym down the street, South Beach Fitness. And so Johnny, he has a problem. I guess he had a problem. He had surgery. He had a problem with his legs, with circulation. And so he was coming in the morning. For a while, I was in the 5 a.m. club, so I was down there at 5 a.m. And Johnny would be in there to do the, he would do the, what do you call it, the cycle. He was on the thing. And so what do they call that when they go in that little room and they sweat box on the thing? The bikes, they're in the bikes.
Oh, the spin class?
The spins, class? Yeah, he's doing the spin, yeah. So anyways, Johnny's in there, and he goes with his walker, right? Man, the guy's with his walker, man. And he gets on the bike, does a spin, and then he had a bad bout, man. And so he was coming in, I'm watching him, Johnny, how's it going? Not too good, but he's in the gym, he's working out. So I'm watching him. The guy, he had tears because there's so much pain. And this guy is getting out of his car, getting a walker out. Come on, this guy, people,
he can do it. Yeah.
Come on, man. And, like you said, people do have a thing in their head. I was telling you, dude, it's so weird. And if you get back to Rochester, where do you stay when you go back?
I usually stay at my parents right
They're
in
still
Caledonia.
there? They're still
Yeah.
in Caledonia on East Avenue?
Yeah, my brother lives in Mumford now with his wife. He actually lives where my grandmother used to live on Armstrong Road in Mumford.
Dude,
He bought.
so I walked past your parents' house when I was there a month ago. When I walked up East Avenue.
Yeah, they were there. Actually, no, probably in Florida. Actually, because I
Oh,
was.
probably.
Yeah, but they're there now.
All those houses have great trees, man. All those porches, man. They got these old ancient porches that are so cool, man.
Well, Caledonia is like such like a. It's like that. I don't know, like that small town, atmosphere, and
Yeah.
it hasn't changed. I mean, it has changed the people wise. Like I don't know anyone, but as far as like the village itself, it hasn't changed any at all.
Yeah. Oh man. So yeah, I was gonna tell you. So I told you earlier that I worked out at Stolpen's gym and Chai Lai. Well, now when I'm back there, I go to Chai Lai Fitness Center because you can just, it's like $7 a day or something, or you can get a week for $5 a day or something. So I just go there, and I don't know. The first time I had to sign up and waiver, and the last time I went was kind of weird. They go, I just want a daily, okay, and they just took my cash, nothing, no sign in, nothing. I just went and worked out, But there's a set of equipment in the back. This white powdered, equipment, powder coated. And I know is from Stolpen's gym back in the late 70s, 80s. And they still have it. It's like 50 years old, man. So if you get back there, work out at Satellite Fitness. Wait, what's the new fitness center in Caledonia? There's one that looks great.
Cal Fitness. It's actually the same gym as the one. It was across the street.
And it's closed, and now it's moved across, right? I didn't go in, but
it's nice. It's small, but it's a nice setup. I like going there.
So you go there when I went? Can I do like a daily thing? I wonder.
Yeah. It's actually one of those where you probably have to. It's like those key card ones. Like there's only someone there at the desk, like on the days, and then if you want to go there, if you want to go there, like 6 o'clock at night, there's probably no one there. You got to do the key card to get in.
It's probably cheap to have a yearly thing, right? I could probably buy a family for my mom.
I think for the whole year, it's like $300.
I can do that. Yeah. My mom still works out. She once in a while she goes to Chai Lai Fitness Center, but she does probably 3 times a week. She does 2 to 3 miles on the treadmill. Got her a treadmill, put it down. Yeah.
Right.
And so she said I inspired her to work out, but she can't understand why she had a good friend from Avon and she passed away, but she asked her, why don't you walk or do these? Oh, at our age, what does it matter? But she just can't figure out their mentality. These people just have no mentality for fitness, man, specifically in their 80s. Wow.
Yeah, if you move, you're going to be healthy.
Yeah. How about your parents? Do they move a lot or work out?
That's a sore subject.
Oh, sorry. Let's not go there.
Yeah,
scratch that. Don't go with parents. Okay. Now, how do you know Amy from school, right? Because she was in your class, or Sequoia.
Amy. No, so she graduated. Well, I knew Ron obviously, and then she graduated 2 years ahead of me.
Oh, she was ahead of you. Okay.
Yeah, 2 years. Yeah.
And I know she coaches people, so I'm going to have her on Monday next, I think. And my cousin, I don't know if you knew April Yates, my cousin, she had 2 curves. She had the one that was in Avon for a while, and she had Geneseo curves.
I know her. I mean, yeah, I think she graduated like 3 years ahead of me in high school.
Yeah, April. Then my cousin Fred Sherman, Stanley, they were all stars for football and not football, baseball and golf. Man, they were tremendous.
So Beth Yates too. That was your Beth Yates?
No, Beth. No, Beth Yates.
I'm thinking of someone else. There was an Amy
Yates. They were from So my cousin April Geneseo, Fred and Sherman Geneseo.
You said Amy or April Yates? Amy or April?
April.
Oh, April. Okay. There was an Amy Yates that graduated a couple years ahead of me.
So have you ever thought about doing any? See, I'm probably going to do my coaching like this because then I can scale it up to either do groups or around the world. Because it's going to be like health coaching.
I know a lot of people like that. Right now, I don't like it. I like it more personal in person because you can concentrate on the form, and I think you'd be a little more motivate people a little better. And I just think like sometimes when you're doing the online, and I know a lot of people like it. I'm not taking away from it. Me personally, I kind of like it in person.
Yeah, and I think for fitness, you really need the one-on-one kind of thing.
A lot of times for fitness, like they want a coach. It's more, sometimes it's just for not to be social, but they like the companionship too. They like.
I know.
So I think the online kind of takes away from that a little bit.
Oh, yeah. And I would be more like, I would suggest anybody I coach health coaching wise to get a trainer, like you. But as far as maybe trying to get away from and kind of do these 10 primal laws and maybe start to switch, I think I'm pretty much fat adapted where now I'm switching to I'm burning more fat. Mm-hmm. See, now I can miss a meal. So this was Mark Sisson. He basically, and I do this 4 or 5 days a week. So he gets up and has coffee in the morning, but with some heavy cream in it. So it's all fat. So it's a limited spike of insulin. The fat doesn't really affect it. So you're not ingesting any carbohydrates. It's not a strict per se a fast because you're having a little bit of fat there. But then he doesn't have his first meal till afternoon. So he's kind of doing an 8-16 hour compressed eating window. Oh, okay. So I do that now without it. Like I did my workout today in my 16th hour where I hadn't had anything to eat really with a lot of energy.
You don't feel like your workout suffering because not eating?
No, because I guess I'm burning fat now instead of relying on glucose and carbohydrates. And when you do that, you kind of get that, your body says, wait, I haven't had any carbohydrates, and you're going to get hangry and you get that feeling. And so if you start burning fat and ketones, it starts burning body fat for energy. And so, and created ketones. And so I still haven't had a meal yet. And so man, so I don't get that anymore and so now when you get into that, it's not that you're not going to eat carbohydrates anymore, but it's like having a big fire, right? Now, if I have carbohydrates, it burns it efficiently instead of relying on that as the only fuel. But you might want to think about it. So what happened was Brad Kearns is this guy's partner. And he used to coach this guy in triathlons. And so they were into that. They ate big, heavy carbohydrate meals for these big runs.
Right.
So now a lot of these guys, they're switching over to a kind of ketogenic, and they're getting their fuel through fats and ketones instead of the carbohydrates. And they're able to do these peak performance activities, these long ultra marathons by doing that. It's kind of crazy.
What do they eat? When they get to what are they eating to get that fuel?
They're eating a lot of coconut oil, avocado oil, and healthy fats,
right,
and stuff like that. And so I'm doing that a lot. So now I probably went 6 years and never had an egg because I was thinking that's bad for you. Now I have eggs all the time with, I have eggs with broccoli, I have eggs with avocado. Yeah. And so I do all man, I just been feeling great. Now, what happened was, and you got to pay attention to this. This just goes back to our lesson on cholesterol. So your LDL may go up a little bit. So mine went up a little bit. So I'm like a 216 total. But the key is an indication that I have the large, fluffy type of LDLs is my triglycerides are only 66.
Okay.
So triglycerides are fat in the blood. So if you got to keep track of all those, get your blood work done and look at that stuff. So now I went down a little bit. So my glucose is still at 100, A1C still 5.6, but I'm hoping that'll come down. I want to control that.
There's diabetes runs in my family.
Me too, yeah. All my cousins are taking insulin up the ass. My dad was too. And everything kind of balloons down from that. Heart disease, kidney disease, everything from that. So if you can, pay attention to that, and you may have to switch to a more.
But do you think the fitness has helped you with that?
It helps you that because, as you probably know, when you exercise vigorously or just exercise, it removes the glycogen from your muscle tissue. So when you have a carbohydrate and it converts to glucose, the first thing it's going to do is refurbish the muscle tissue with glycogen, right? So it's going to do that. And so to do that, those cells have to be insulin sensitive instead of insulin resistant. So they'll open the door to take that in. So by exercising, you're keeping yourself more insulin resistant. Sensitive. Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes people, I think they don't take care of themselves. They just then they become insulin resistant, and now they got type 2 diabetes, and now they
So it's not the spike in insulin and spike in glucose that hurts you. It's the chronic. If you're chronically high in insulin and glucose, that's what's going to hurt you. Your body's, it's okay to produce insulin and bring yourself down to homeostasis, right? But if you're emptying those cells of glycogen, when you eat carbohydrates again, you got to refill those. So your your cells are going to be open to insulin. Insulin has the key to open up to that. That's why if you're insulin resistant, even though you're eating those nutrients, your cell goes, I'm not taking no more. And so now it goes to liver and converts that to fat storage. Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of cool shit though, right?
I wish my dad, he has type 2 diabetes. And I think, the VA told him that, if he eats well and exercises, he can manage it. He does somewhat, but I think he can always do a little more. But
yeah, my dad got it at 57 and he became an animal. And he got to know, he know which insulin affected him this much. He never drank again, never drank a drop again. He was really kind of good on his diet. And he lived to be 83. Healthy. He was playing golf till he was 83. So.
But did he still have to take insulin when he was working out? He still had to take the insulin.
He never worked out. He never exercised. But he played golf and he moved a lot. But he wouldn't. He was like, I couldn't get him to work out. Yeah, he wouldn't. But he was really good on his diet. He kind of knew.
Right.
He said, I saved his life. I gave him this book by Dr. Bernstein. It's about diabetes. There was a doctor who almost lost his feet, and he became a doctor to learn more about diabetes. And so he said that I saved his life with that because he kind of knew, I shouldn't be drinking this orange juice. That's going to shoot me up to, so he kind of became pretty conscientious about it.
Oh, good for him. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
My dad's I think it's my aunt has it too. My cousin on my dad's side, it seems like that's where it's prevalent. But my mom's side, it's not really, it's not there.
Yeah. So I'm going to watch it like you should. So far, so good. But I really, even though I was really getting healthy, I would just eat pasta all the time. I love it, thinking, hey, I'm not having these meat or these artery clogging meals. But then I'm having all this glucose, man. I'm spiking my sugar constantly. But, like you said, I think even though they say you can't out-exercise a bad diet, it does kind of mitigate a lot of problems, I think.
Oh, it does. Yeah. I have a group here in my co-op. We have it's all retired cops and firemen. So we go out every other Thursday. We go out for dinner, and that's my one day where I can go out and kind of enjoy. I'll have pasta. We'll pick an Italian restaurant. Yeah. I'll have something like pasta where I kind of treat myself to that.
Yeah. So Mark Sisson, who's cut up 70s, he's like, hey, and he doesn't do that. No breakfast, has that coffee. He, his whole system is, well, this weekend I'm traveling. I'm going to have breakfast, because I'm traveling. It's something different. And so, it's not an all or nothing. Don't be he's not into let's weigh food and measure this. More intuitive eating. What's the best meal I can have right now for this? And so, hey, I'm at a wedding this weekend. I'm going to have a piece of cake. And I plan on it. I'm not going to have two, but I'm going to have a piece of cake, right? So that's what you do, like you're doing. Hey, I'm going to have it this week, because I know my body will adjust to that. Yeah.
I think people sometimes make fitness too complicated.
It is too complicated. And that's what I like about this system, man, because it makes you intuitive and it gives you all these choices, man. Yeah. Yeah.
Like if I go out, all right. So if I know, if I go out Thursday night with my friends and I have, pasta, I'll know, I won't eat as much during the day, kind of safe. Being fit, all it is burning more calories than you take in. That's all. When it comes down to it, you got to do it. So I try to figure that out, and then that's where I go from there.
Yeah. However, he does argue that and says, well, it's a little more nuanced than calories in, calories out. Yeah. Because if you eat a bunch of if you're eating processed foods and then you're not getting your nutrients, your body tells you you're still hungry, so you're going to keep eating. Or a lot of breads have this ghrelin hormone in it that stimulates appetite. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. Listen, we got to bring this to a close, my brother, but I got to tell you, this has been one of my most favorite episodes. Will you do this again with me?
I definitely will. I had a lot of fun.
I think we're going to be friends now. And listen, when I come to the city, we're going to get together. And maybe, I'm at the island during the summer, Thousand Islands. So if I can get you to come up for a day or two, I want you to come up. And we're going to have a good time. So if you're going to Rochester, you can come up for a day or two, or fly up to Syracuse, man. I'll pick you up.
I think, I don't know if you know Bill Schneider. He was the police chief in Caledonia. I think he has a place up there as well. I don't know if you know him.
He did for a while. Bill used to show up at my island in his boat. He had a place. He had a place downriver. Well, he had a place that he would go to, And so he would take like the 10-minute drive by boat up to the island. But I haven't seen Schneider in probably, God, it's been 5-6 years, I think. Yeah. I don't know if he's still going up there. I thought he bought a place, but maybe he didn't. I know he was renting for a while. Yeah.
I thought he goes up there because I know my dad has a coffee group up the AM PM in Caledonia. They all meet up there in the morning.
Oh, do they? Oh,
and I think I thought he was part of the coffee group.
Oh, he probably is. Yeah, and there's a kid named Beavers.
Yeah, Mike Jim Beavers. Mike Beavers. Yeah. Actually, saw him. Yeah, I saw him in South Carolina last.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he was there, and my parents. So
he works with my dad. He worked with my dad. Yeah. That's so awesome, man. Yeah, he went to Greece. Yeah, my dad went to Greece. All right, so we're going to do this again, brother. I went over our time because I just had so much fun talking with you. And so how are you? I don't need to send anybody to you, right? You have enough clients already in person?
Oh, no, I'm good for now.
You're good. All right.
If you have anyone who wants to send to me, I'll speak to them. Yeah, definitely. If you want.
All right, brother. I will put all the links to your Instagram and keep posting your videos. And, do you ever sometimes I get, haters, why are you posting your workouts and all this stuff? And I go, listen, because, I walk the talk. If I tell you I'm doing these things, I want you to know I'm not full of shit. I'm actually doing these things, right? So I'm out there, just sharing what I'm doing. It kind of keeps me in track too, right? Because I know, hey, I got to do a video. I better go to the gym, right?
I tell people the same thing. I say, I got to, when I do these videos, I have to kind of look, good and know what I'm doing. So it kind of keeps me motivated as well. That's half the reason I do it.
Yeah. I'm not a bullshitter, man. I walk the talk, man. I'm not pretending. That's how we were brought up at CMCS. Caledonia, my friend.
Yeah.
All right. Stay safe, my brother, and stay after because we're going to do a little debriefing, and we're going to do this again. And we hit it today, man. Sometimes,
I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun.
Me too. We had a lot of fun. I can't believe our Caledonia, our little village of Caledonia, had a big influence, our sports influence on our careers, and is still influencing us today.
And I've heard a lot of people say that too. When they look back on their life at Caledonia, like playing sports, how much it's influenced them to be successful and carried over to their adult life.
You heard it from my good friend Patrick Davis, fellow Caledonian, fellow police officer. We're retired.
And Rochester General Hospital security.
What? I can't believe it. Oh my God. There was a guy named Joe Beeman there. Was he still there? No.
No, I wasn't there.
Okay, yeah, he was too old. All right, Patrick, you're awesome. Stay after. Hey, subscribe to the show, everybody. It tells the computer that you're interacting with it, and they'll show it to more people who need to hear something that will positively impact their life. All right, see you in the next episode.
Thanks again.